Yeah, hello friends. This is Shivkant, and I'm starting this new channel called First 150, in which I will be covering the first 150 pages of the said textbook, including the content and the exercises and the sample examples. Yeah. So if you like the coverage of the first 150 pages, you can then possibly go in for a paid course where I'll cover the whole book. And today I'll be covering this first 150 pages of this book called JavaScript Bible. Do you see it? JavaScript. Oh, okay. JavaScript Bible. Yeah. So I'll be covering the first 150 pages of JavaScript Bible, and um, so so the first 150 pages of the JavaScript Bible. So in the first 150 pages, in the first 25 pages, the topics covered are your first JavaScript, choosing a text editor, what your first script will do, what your first script will do, entering and executing your first JavaScript, entering your first JavaScript in the chosen editor. Filtering JS. Okay. Filtering JS for the benefit of old browsers. I know this is a little outdated, but still makes sense to filter out JS for old browsers. Semicolons and spaces, significance of semicolons and spaces in your JavaScript text program. And finally the exercises part. Exercises, also called have some fun. Alright, so basically these are the topics that we'll cover as a part of the first chapter, and it will cover the first 25 pages of my presentation. So be tuned for covering these topics and then subsequent topics till we reach the pages 150. Yeah. So thank you for your time, and I'll be back soon. Hello all, I'm back now, continuing with the tutorial on JavaScript based on the first 150 pages of the JavaScript Bible. The topics that we were planning to cover were the first JavaScript, what it will do. So the first JavaScript will tell you about how to use JavaScript to write dynamic and static content to the browser. It will also tell you how to use JavaScript. It will also how to use JavaScript. I think I'll from now on call it JavaScript JS, to detect the browser environment browser environment in which it is executing. Choosing a text editor. Okay, so now coming to choosing a text editor, you can pretty much choose any text editor you can pretty much choose any text editor like TextPad, Notepad++, but what is preferred is that you use a text editor which support JavaScript, which let me put in a new line, which support JavaScript syntax, and also aid in quick change and reload for increased productivity. So what your first script will do. Okay, so I have already mentioned here above what the first script will do. It will basically look at the environment in which the JavaScript is executing, and it will also basically tell you how to write to the document to the browser dynamic and static content. Now entering your first JavaScript in the chosen editor, I am going to use Notepad as my default development text editor. As my default text editor, and I will also share with you all these notes that I'm making in a phased manner, so that it will help you in your progress as you are doing this by yourself. Filtering JS for old browsers. So this is a demo, and semicolons and spaces in your JavaScript. So this is also a demo covered in the next video, and exercises are of course demos which we will practice as we proceed in the course. Thank you very much again, and see you in the next class. Hello friends, it's good to be back again. So today I will be covering your first JavaScript, and that will include writing dynamic content to the browser and detecting the environment in which it's executing. Yeah. So first let me go to the desktop. Yeah, and I create a new folder called first 150. Of course, this can be anything you would like, and it can be your name. So we get into the directory. So now we get into the command prompt. Yeah, like I said, I'll be using Notepad as my default text editor. So I'll just say Notepad and script1 HTML. Basically, JavaScript executes within the environment of HTML. So basically, it doesn't stand by itself. It is present only to modulate and add to the HTML content. So Notepad, so basically we will be ingraining the JavaScript within the HTML. So now coming to Notepad script1.html, so that will be created within the first 150 directory. So this is the basic text editor which we will be using. So like I said, the JavaScript will be always embedded within HTML content, HTML head, and as we know, the HTML always consists of the head and title, first Java JS program. Yeah, so now come to the end of the head. So I'm just breezing through the HTML part of it so that we can concentrate on the JavaScript part of it. Now coming to so now comes the real part of the JavaScript. So the JavaScript will always be within this tag, the script tag. Type. All the JavaScript programs will sit within the script tag. Type is equal to text / JavaScript, and let us say for the beginning, let us just put a alert to know everything is working fine. Excuse me, alert, say hello. So as soon as this script is executed, it will throw up a window with the alert hello, and so that's the end body. We have the body of the HTML, which has nothing to do with the JavaScript, and end of the body, end of HTML, end of HTML. So this is your first script 1 dot HTML. Just looking at everything. So, and as we see here, it is the tags are case insensitive. Okay, so this should work just fine. Let me open it in Chrome. One second, first JS program, that is working fine. Looks like there is a hiccup. 1 second. The alert is not functioning. Okay, HTML. Hello friends, it's good to be back here again. So like I mentioned, this is the third video of a series of videos which I'm presenting as a part of the first 150 page video. In this video we'll be covering a few pages of the JavaScript Bible book. I'll be going through the first program in this book and the nitty-gritty details of each of the program. So effectively entering and executing your first JavaScript program in the chosen editor. My chosen editor, like I said, would be text edit, would be Notepad. I'll be using Notepad for my JavaScript development. It is present in all the windows by default, so you can use it for your development too. So now this is entering and executing your first JavaScript in the chosen editor. So I'll be creating a JavaScript file called my first, and always JavaScript will reside within HTML file, assisting it and complementing it to basically enhance the HTML presentation. So I'll be calling my first script as my first.html and embedding my JavaScript into it. Yeah, so what we are going to do is, first of all, let me save this desktop. I've created this file folder called first 150, in which I'll be saving all the notes and videos. So I'll get into that one. So now I'll all files, and here I'll be calling it notes1.txt. okay, now like I said, I'll be using the same thing for my JavaScript development. So we'll go for a new window, we'll close the we'll minimize the old one, and now let me start the program. HTML, all HTML starts with HTML, and head title is my first JavaScript, end of title. So now comes the meat of the program, that is the script tag. All the JavaScripts sit within individual or their script tags. Type is equal to text / JavaScript. Yeah. So this indicates that we are going to embed within it JavaScript content. So that should, for the time being, let me just alert a sample text and end of script. This defines that demarcates the end of the script, and we are having this in the head. Most of the JavaScript always sits in the head of the HTML, but not necessarily, but it always sits within the script tags. Now we are going to end head, and body, and in body. I'm just going to mark some text in body, end of body, and end of HTML. So this will be my first JavaScript program, though not the same as the one in the textbook. So HTML begins, head begins here, ends here, script begins and ends here, title ends here. I'm just recalibrating because all of them should be balanced with the ending tags, mostly. Okay, let me save it as first 150 myscript1.html. myscript.html. If you don't want to choose the type, you just embed it within double quotes. Yeah, so that creates the my first script.html. Yeah, so let me open my my first 150 desktop. I suppose it's behind this one. Okay, it's in documents. Okay, my first 150 Python inner docs. My first 150. Okay, sorry, it's right here. I'll bring it out here. Cancel. Okay, and this is the script that we just wrote. Open with Google Chrome. If everything goes well, yeah, sample text. This page is working well with the JavaScript and in body. So the HTML and the JavaScript are working fine. So now I continue with the development of JavaScript, and to achieve the target, document .write a welcome message. Document.write a welcome message, and then we also write this just writes a welcome message on the browser, and document.write. So now I will use some of the properties of objects, default objects present in all web browsers, supporting JavaScript, and uh, one of them is navigator.appname. I will explain to you in more in detail about this navigator.appname. Is it also writing the script version document? Yeah. So now let me just save this again and refresh. A welcome message Netscape in body. Yeah. So in body is the HTML part of it, and Netscape it is the basic object type. Navigator.appname is Netscape, and a welcome message is the one that the first document.write has printed to the body of the browser. Now to make it a little more attractive, or we can embed HTML tags within document.write, so that we are having a clear-cut demarcation of what has been written by which part of the script. So now I just refresh it again. A welcome message Netscape in body. Yeah, so in body is written by HTML, Netscape is written by the default object, and a welcome message is the message that we wrote in the document.write. So we're all good here. So that is the first part of the tutorial. Now we'll proceed to getting into the details of the script, removing semicolons, including spaces. So all these parts of the script, and that should give you a good insight as to how to write JavaScript scripts. Thank you very much. See you again in the next class. Thank you. Hello friends, it's good to be back here again. Now I'll be just concluding the series of the presentations on the first chapter with the topics that I mentioned I'll be covering. So I'll just open up the topics that I'll be covering. Notes, yeah. So my first HTML, we covered up to this one. Now what I will be doing is I will be covering how to how old browsers can escape or filter. We can filter JavaScript for old browsers from executing them. This is a slightly outdated topic because most of the browsers do support JavaScript. And now just for the completeness of the program, I'll just go back to my script, this one. And I don't have outdated JavaScript. So basically I'll just tell you how we do it, and maybe you can try it out with an outdated JavaScript browser, or if you can find one nowadays. Open with Notepad. So I'll go to the script, the meat of the program, that's a script tag, and there I will basically put this in the HTML comments. I will mark it as a HTML comment. And I'll mark it as a HTML comment so that the script is not identified by browsers which are outdated and which don't support JavaScript. So this is a HTML comment. This is a closing HTML comment, and so effectively JavaScript, non-JavaScript browsers will fall through this this one and will consider this to be a comment and hence not execute it. So, but we will see that in my browser, which is a JavaScript enabled browser, will not be impacted by the same. Yeah, so the same output has been given as was before we marked it out as a comment. So this is not impacted. Now coming to having a little bit of fun, so you can try out different things. We already included HTML tags as a part of the document.write, and it got interpreted within that. So this effectively forms to have some fun part or the exercise part of the book. Now we'll be moving on to the chapter 2, where I will be covering browser and document objects. Thank you very much. Yeah, hello friends. It's good to be back here again. Now continuing with my notes on first 150 pages of Java, first 150 pages of the JavaScript Bible. Now let me open the notes and I will describe to you what I will be covering in this particular chapter. Open with Notepad. Okay. So now I think we have covered all these things. Now coming to the material that we'll be covering now in this chapter. This is chapter 4. Chapter 4, browser and document objects. Browser and document objects. So that is the name of the chapter. You don't necessarily have to have the book to follow the lecture, but it would help. I would recommend you buy this book. It's quite a good book on JavaScript, and you can follow along the book and the lecture and the tutorials and the exercises and the samples. So it will make a comprehensive guide which will give you an insight into the book and using JavaScript for your programming purposes. Alright, thank you. Browser and document objects. So basically in this chapter we will cover in which context will we use JavaScript. So JavaScript and its uses. Yeah. So now JavaScript is used in interactive UI, small data lookup. I will explain to you all these in detail. Small data lookup, form validation, and interactive data. Multiple frames and manipulations, and finally dynamic HTML. So and subsequently we'll cover the next topic, that is the topic called DOM, or the document object model. So the things that are obvious from this is form validation. In form validation, to make sure that the HTML form that we submit to the server contains valid data, we can use JavaScript for validation. So I will have certain examples as we move along this course. You'll see certain examples where the JavaScript is used for form validation, validating data before it is submitted to the server. Interactive data. So supposing we are having multiple drop downs, one for state and one for city. Based on the state selected, the city drop down obviously has to change. So such interactive data can be manipulated and presented to the user using JavaScript. Now multiple frames and manipulations. So this is very much useful. You must have seen Javadoc. That's a document or the documentation for Java programming language. The way they use the frames, this is managed by JavaScript. How the frames are managed using JavaScript, it is really very inspiring to see the way that how JavaScript can be used for frames and data representation in the various frames. Dynamic HTML. Dynamic HTML basically means for supposing we have the concept of event observer model in JavaScript. In the event observer model, what happens is that when an event is triggered, an observer is informed about the event, and another object can behave based on the event received by the event raised. So for example, on mouse click of a button, you can convert all the text in all the text in a text field to uppercase. So this is a sample in which we're using JavaScript for dynamic HTML. So these are the topics which we will cover in the first 150 pages, and also subsequently in part of the course, in which we will cover these topics in great depth. Next comes the topic called document object model. All browsers support document object model, and document object model is the hierarchy in which the tags of the HTML are placed. I will go into the details of definition and manipulation of the document object model in a subsequent lecture. So that's all for now. Thank you very much. Hello friends, let me show you the concept of document object model, the first 150. My script, open with Notepad. As you can see here, there are tags here which are planned and specifically and arranged in a specific order. Like, what I mean is, for example, the head tag always follows the HTML tag. So there is a certain hierarchy that is maintained, and to make sense to render the HTML on the browser, and a generic template by which the browser can predict the kind of HTML that is going to be rendered on the page. So effectively what that means is that the document which is rendered on the page follows a certain template and a certain hierarchy, and I will explain to you the hierarchy that is followed by most document object model pages. So let me open MS Paint. Okay, so the first primary or the parentmost document object model entity is the document. So below the document comes the HTML, which we saw in the example. Let me center it. Yeah, okay, HTML, and the HTML has two children. One is the head, like we saw again, and the other is the body. And the other is the body. Or there is the body. Now the body contains specific tags which form its hierarchy, and that include tags such as P. P stands for paragraph, P, or you can just, I'll mark it in brackets, paragraph. Yeah, so paragraph, and the paragraph further contains child elements such as the one second. Such as the EM element. So this as a whole helps in the page being displayed and beautified using the DOM manipulations and presentation of the DOM on the generic uh, browser page. Yeah, so that forms the crux of the matter being discussed in the chapter 4. And uh, and now come the exercises, and I'll give you a certain example of the event handler which I talked about in the previous session. So this forms the primary first 50 pages of the tutorial. So I will culminate the first 50 pages with the comprehensive video on the complete briefing on all the topics that have been covered in the first 50 pages. Okay, thank you very much. Bye then. Hello friends, it's good to be back again, covering the last phase of the first 50 pages and awaiting your feedback on the first 50 pages. Now let me get back to the directory, and in the directory we're having the notes, and like I promised, I will be having a certain program which will be the event observer, which will basically show the event observer pattern, or which will demonstrate the event observer pattern in JavaScript. So now let me just copy paste this once again. Copy, paste it. Okay, so now comes, I'll mark it as my script 2 so that I can just reuse what has been already done. Now I'll just open this with Notepad. It has always been my default text editor. Okay, all this is good. Now I'll remove these things which you don't need, and now what I will do is I will in the body, below the body, I will use the form tag. As you must be recollecting now, the form tag is the tag which is used to send data towards the server. So, and within the form is the input type, equal to text. Input type is equal to text, or we can input type is equal to text, or to have a more smaller example, input type to button. Input type is equal to button, and value is equal to the text that will be shown on the button, so we can call it click me. And on click, this is the event observer model that comes into the picture. On click is equal to window is the default object present in all browsers. Window.alert, this is the document object coming into play, and you clicked me. Yeah, so as you see, there's already a double quote here, so we'll enclose it with single quotes so that it doesn't get confused with the array of things. Window.alert, you clicked me, and end of now end of form. Yeah, so what we will see here is a form on which there will be a button. When you click the button, it will basically click and will pop up a alert saying you clicked me. Yeah, so that is the example here. File save. Now I will open it with Chrome. Open with Chrome. All the rest being the same. Okay, so now in addition we are having a click me button. So a default welcome message and from the default objects in the body, so that you click me. Now when you say you click me, when you press the click me button, the page comes up with an observer. This is the event you did by clicking me, and the observer which basically comes up with the reaction to the click me event. You clicked me. Yeah, and so this is the default OK button, which you can just press to get rid of this. So that is the event observer in brief. So now coming to the exercises, which of the following applications are well suited to client-side JavaScript? Why and why not? So I explained to you about the concept of state and city. Like when you select a state, the city drop down automatically changes with the values. So basically this follows through with that. And music jukebox has extensive interaction with server material, so it cannot be used for JavaScript. A website visit counter, so website visit counter definitely needs a session variable which is maintained by a server so that also we cannot achieve by JavaScript alone, which is a browser side technology. Chat room involves extensive use of messaging queues, so this also we cannot manage using or we cannot create using JavaScript. Graphical Fahrenheit to Celsius temperature calculator, this is a perfect example wherein we are having Fahrenheit being given and Celsius being calculated. So this is a perfect example where we can use JavaScript for simple and effective scripts to manipulate data that has been present to the user. All of the above, no. None of the above, no. Which of the following object names are valid in JavaScript? For each one that is invalid, explain why. So last name is a perfect example where we can use it for usage as a variable name. So the rest of them either have special characters, beginning with number, having underscore, spaces, apostrophes. So this is an array of invalid characters. So write a HTML. Now I'm going to the question 5. Write a HTML tag for a button in the input element named hi, whose visible label needs to read howdy, and whose on click event displays an alert dialog box saying hello to you too. So what is effectively asked for is, let me demonstrate using the MyScript 2. Yeah, so what has been asked for is button input element named hi name. So button name is equal to hi. It is something like an ID. Name is something like an ID, and whose visible label reads howdy. So basically the value is the attribute which defines the label of the button. So here it is howdy. Howdy, and when on clicked it should return hello to you too. So basically this part of it needs to be changed to hello to you too. So that creates the MyScript 2, and we test it out. Sorry, I should have opened it with Chrome. Okay, open with howdy, and when you say this one, hello to you too. So this is what is asked for in the question 5. So that brings us to the end of the first 50 pages of the book JavaScript Bible. I'll be covering the rest of the pages in a paid course, so that it's interesting to you as well as to me, and hope to see you there. Thank you.